Welcome to Las Vegas Real Estate TV, where you're going to get information regarding real estate here in Las Vegas. My name is Maximus Nguyen, and today's topic is what is involved in selling your home in a short sale. With me to discuss this topic is Trish Williams from Keller Realty. In 2015, Trish was Rookie of the Year and sold 24 homes in that first year, and she's on pace currently this year to double that production, and she ranks in the top 5% of her market center, right?
Yes,
here in Las Vegas. Trish's business is 90% referral, which tells you that she takes really good care of her clients. So welcome, Trish.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So the first question I want to ask you is, why would a seller even choose to do a short sale?
Usually when a seller decides to short sell their property, it's not a choice. They're in some type of hardship. That's in most cases what will cause a short sale to be initiated. Usually maybe a divorce, a job loss, hardship, maybe even a death in the family, or a relocation that's out of their control,
right.
In some situations. Yeah.
So is it better for them to short sale their house versus for having it foreclosed on? I mean, why would someone just not walk away completely and instead of doing a short sale?
There are many benefits to a short sale versus foreclosure. You can always talk with your realtor and discuss the different benefits that you have, and another person that you'd want to consult for that is your CPA.
Sure.
There's different things in short sales. There's many times that you can have forgiveness given to the balance of the debt, where it's not going to show on your credit report or have the same type of impact on your credit report that a foreclosure would have.
Okay.
And your time to purchase is actually sooner for a short sale. If you want to purchase again in the future, there's programs where you can purchase a lot sooner than if you were to foreclose your home.
Yeah, being a lender, that is definitely the truth. So
yes.
it makes look at short sales more favorably.
Yes,
than foreclosure.
Definitely. So, I mean, there's different professionals to consult to decide if it's the right thing for you, but your realtor ultimately can help you make that decision.
Sure, absolutely. So, what is involved in the process of a seller deciding at that point, now I want a short sale? What steps do they take next?
Well, your first step is to contact a realtor.
Okay.
So and discuss, the different options that you have. Paperwork, you're going to have a lot of paperwork. So that's one thing to ultimately just be prepared for. They're going to ask for a lot because the bank's going to have to review your situation to make sure that you can qualify for a short sale, that you ultimately you're not able to continue with the payments.
Sure. So not just anybody can walk in and say, I'm going to short sell my house.
No, unfortunately not. Yes.
Okay.
You do have to qualify for it. And then your home gets listed.
Okay.
As soon as your home gets listed and we get an offer in, once we receive an offer, then we can send your full package to the bank for review. Unfortunately, we cannot send your package to the bank without an offer on the table.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you next, is that we have to have an offer first before you send all the documentation, right? The bank's not going to waste any of their time looking into that stuff if there's no offer.
If there's nobody willing to purchase the house, we do have to have a purchaser.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the seller does have to have some type of hardship.
Yes.
In order to qualify.
In order to qualify, or or be in some type of situation where they just cannot make their payments.
Okay. So does the seller have to pay anything in this process?
The seller's costs are very minimal, if any.
Okay.
There's sometimes, in order to make the short sale be able to happen, if there's certain repairs that are requested, once we get that far along in the process, if the buyer's lender will not move forward due to certain repairs that are needed, sometimes if the seller has the ability, they would try to get those remedied so we can move forward. Many a time sellers don't have the ability just because they're in a hardship already. So that depends. Another fee or cost that a seller may encounter during the short sale process is if you have an HOA, your resale package, your HOA demand. Those are things that the bank will not pay in most cases, so the sellers will be responsible for those. One thing, if you're if the seller's situation or hardship qualifies, they have programs such as HAFA that may be able to help you in providing you funds for relocating.
Oh, wow.
Once the short sale's made.
It's kind of like the Cash for Keys program for foreclosures and stuff like that?
Basically, that's what it is, yes.
Okay.
And so, yeah, there are another thing, discuss with your realtor. It's ultimately up to the bank to review your situation to see if you can qualify for the program. But there are programs out there that can help the seller in relocating.
Now, is that HAFA independent of the bank that's doing the short sale, or is it something that's offered through the bank that's doing the short sale?
It's a I'm not sure if it's federal program, but it's it's a nationwide program. But yes, it's the bank will review it. Under HAFA guidelines.
Okay, so is the short sale guaranteed? What if the bank doesn't accept the offer? Is there a back and forth negotiation that happens, or?
There can be negotiation that happens, but it's never guaranteed.
Okay.
It's never guaranteed. Once the bank will review and approve that you're eligible to short sell, from that point on, it's the obstacle or the next step is to make sure that we have an offer and we have the right amount that the bank will accept to take for the property. So that can lead to negotiations. Sometimes it can be simple.
Okay. So does it matter what the offer the seller chooses to accept or not?
Well, yes, it does. And what the reason why that matters, as the seller, of course, they're not getting any proceeds from the short sale, and that's one of the requirements. But at the same time, you have to send the bank an offer that they're willing to accept. The bank is not going to sell the house way under market value, and they're not giving it away. They need to see a reasonable, fair offer on the table and know that they're selling it for a certain price. One of the things that some banks will do is after they accept an offer, they'll put the home back on the market for auction for a few days in order to get the best, make sure that they're getting the best price that they can get for the property. And then once that that time frame has passed, if there's no other offers on the table, then they'll continue. But the bank ultimately does want to make sure that they're not giving the house away.
So even after they have accepted an offer, they'll put it onto auction?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Some banks do that, and it is common. It is common practice in some situations.
So what if the auction creates a higher price than the accepted offer?
Yes, and that's unfortunate news for the buyer.
Oh no.
Yeah, very unfortunate news for the buyer, but yeah, that's what ultimately the bank will do to make sure that they're getting the best value.
Okay.
One thing that many banks will request, which if your realtor is familiar with short sales, they may request you or advise you, we need to wait 3, 5, or even 10 days before we accept an offer, so we can show to the bank that we took the best offer that we could get.
Sure.
If you take the first offer that comes in 24 hours on a home, which happens many a times in short sales.
Sure, absolutely.
You accept the first offer that comes in, you're not really helping the bank make sure that they're getting the best price for the home.
Okay, so who does the realtor represent?
The realtor represents the seller.
Okay, and who
not the bank.
Okay, yes. The realtor represents the seller, not the bank.
Yes.
Okay, because there's always a misunderstanding on that part sometimes.
No, we represent the seller. We make sure that the seller is, everything that's happening during the short sale process is in the seller's best interest. There's sometimes that a bank will kind of maybe try to back them into a corner on certain issues or certain things, but ultimately we have to make sure that we're representing the seller's best interest. That's who we represent in the whole process.
Sure. So how long is this process what can the seller do in preparation? Because I know in our previous videos we talked about it could take up to 12 months, even longer.
Yeah, it could take forever.
And so, and my next question is, are the people living in the home, the homeowners currently, are they still making payments as it goes along?
To do a short sale, you do not have to be behind on your payments.
Okay.
But many situations they are, because ultimately a short sale is you don't have the capacity to make your payments any longer.
Sure, absolutely.
So many a times they're behind or not making any payments.
Okay.
And Some situations they will try to keep up on their HOA dues because there's it's kind of another layer of foreclosure, which is a whole nother,
Sure. It's another,
a whole nother animal.
Right,
yes.
right.
So
the HOA can put a lien on the property.
yes, and then that can open up a whole separate can of worms. But there's there's just different situations. But many a times, no, there's no payments being made in the process.
Okay. And so, is there any arm length type of restrictions in selling your home?
Yes. Okay. Usually you are not allowed to sell it to a family member. You're not allowed to, be involved in the transaction directly related. Okay. Your realtor cannot be involved in the transaction as well. If
the realtor can't buy.
They can't buy the short sale. Yes. So there's many a times the bank will require, documentation stating that nobody else is involved or this isn't something done directly to work it out within each other.
Sure.
If I said that right.
Okay. Got it. So this last question is say for instance the short sale takes 12 months.
Yes.
Right? And the bank has already accepted an offer, but for some odd reason it's dragging out. Is there any instance where the bank can foreclose on the property before the short sale completes itself?
The bank can foreclose on the property before the short sale completes itself, but usually what would happen is they'd send out a rejection.
Okay.
They send a rejection, and then they can process the foreclosure immediately if they want to. But they basically, the short sale does pause the foreclosure proceeding if the bank is willing to take it into consideration.
Okay, got it. But they'll get notice. The homeowner will get notice. It's not.
Yeah, they get notice, but there's times that the notice could be very short.
Okay.
Very short notice. I've seen situations where they say no, we will not take the offer, and then proceed right into foreclosure.
Sure. So what are some of the things that a homeowner who's considering short selling their house, what kind of questions do they need to ask a realtor?
Well, first off, they need to, they need to talk to their realtor to see if they qualify, financially, if they do have a hardship. One thing that's, I've spoken to a couple people recently in the market that thought that they needed to short sell and they really didn't. Oh. So that is happening in Vegas, where
they don't realize their home
they
values.
don't realize their home values have gone up. Yeah,
right.
so that's happened twice recently, where I've spoken to somebody that thought that they needed to short sell, and they were at a situation where they're not walking away with much, but they did have enough equity to be able to continue.
Okay.
So that's that is a situation. You want to find out your value.
Sure, absolutely.
You want to make sure that you don't need to go through this whole process,
right?
Because it does make it easier on you. You see, find out what paperwork's required. You're going to have to prepare to get a lot of documentation and communicate with your realtor. If your realtor tells you they need bank statements, don't wait 2 weeks to get them to them, because that will delay the whole process as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm sure there's a ton of more questions a home seller needs to ask. So if they do need to ask them, how can they get a hold of you, Trish?
My phone number is 702-308-2878.
Perfect. So I'll make sure I'll put all her information at the bottom of this video so you can contact her. So, well, thank you so much, Trish, for coming out again.
Thank you for having me,
and educating us on the seller side of a short sale. That's all we have for today. Thank you for tuning in to this channel. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel at LasVegasRealEstateTV.com. Again, my name is Maximus Nguyen. I'll see you next time.